Imagine this. You're standing on the Mexican plateau, the sun dipping low, casting a warm, orange glow across the landscape. A calm wind whispers past, a gentle sigh carrying secrets centuries old. This is Teotihuacan, the city of the gods, at the magical hour of dusk. Before you stretches a vast, silent boulevard, known as the Avenue of the Dead. It points towards the horizon, a stone artery that once pulsed with the life of a civilization shrouded in mystery. As the day's light fades, the shadows lengthen, and you can almost feel the presence of its ancient inhabitants. Picture them, the builders, the priests, the artisans, standing right where you are, watching this very same sun set behind the western hills, just as it has for millennia. This wasn't just a city built of stone and earth. It was a city born from a profound vision. Every pyramid, every plaza, every alignment speaks of a grander purpose. This was a metropolis designed with incredible precision, a deliberate fusion of geometry, astronomy, and a deep spiritual connection to the cosmos. The people who lived here didn't just see the stars. They understood their dance. They mirrored the heavens on earth, creating a sacred landscape that harmonized with the cycles of the sun, the moon, and the distant constellations. Look at the Pyramid of the Sun, a colossal monument that dominates the skyline. It's not just a pile of rocks. It's a man-made mountain, carefully positioned to capture the movements of the sun. Its orientation marks the passing of the seasons, a celestial clock on a monumental scale. Then there's the Pyramid of the Moon at the end of the avenue, a silent guardian watching over the city, its form echoing the shape of the sacred mountain behind it. Cerro Gordo. The entire city is a grid, a celestial map laid out on the valley floor. The main axis, the Avenue of the Dead, is not aligned perfectly north-south. Instead, it's tilted about 15.5 degrees east of true north. Why? This wasn't a mistake. This precise angle aligns with significant astronomical events, like the rising of the Pleiades star cluster, which was crucial to their calendar and agricultural cycles. It's a testament to their sophisticated understanding of the universe, a language written in architecture. They built this city to last an eternity, to be a place where humans could connect with the divine. They saw the world as a living, breathing entity, and Teotihuacan was its heart. The city's layout, its very existence, was a prayer in stone, a declaration of their place in the cosmos. They channeled underground springs to create a system of canals, mirroring the watery underworld of their cosmology. They even imported materials from hundreds of miles away, bringing mica, shells, and precious stones to imbue their temples with sacred power. As twilight deepens and the first stars begin to appear, the silence of Teotihuacan becomes profound. It's a silence filled with questions. Who were these people? What was the name they called themselves, and what language did they speak? They rose to become one of the most powerful and influential centers in the ancient Americas, and then they vanished, leaving behind this breathtaking, enigmatic ghost city. The name Teotihuacan itself is a clue, given by the later Aztecs who discovered the abandoned city and were so awestruck that they believed it was the birthplace of the gods. They imagined that the Great Pyramids were tombs of sun and moon gods, created in a mythical dawn. But the original builders, their beliefs, and the reasons for their city's eventual decline remain one of history's greatest puzzles. We're standing at the threshold of this puzzle. The cool night air now settles over the Avenue of the Dead, and the pyramids transform into immense, dark silhouettes against the star-dusted sky. It feels less like a ruin and more like a sleeping giant. The dream of Teotihuacan is still alive, encoded in its stones, waiting for us to listen, to observe, and to wonder. Join us as we step out of the twilight and into the light of discovery. We'll peel back the layers of time, explore the art, the rituals, and the daily life of this incredible civilization. We'll climb the pyramids, walk the ancient avenues, and attempt to decipher the cosmic code left behind by the master builders of the City of the Gods. The journey begins now. Thanks for watching, and if you're as fascinated by ancient mysteries as we are, make sure to subscribe and follow along. Welcome back to our series on the great cities of the ancient world. Today, we journey to Mesoamerica, to a place shrouded in mystery and monumental grandeur, Teotihuacan. When the Aztecs stumbled upon this sprawling city of pyramids in the 14th century, it had already been abandoned for over 700 years. They were so awestruck by its scale that they named it Teotihuacan, meaning the place where the gods were created. They believed it was a divine, mythical place and frankly, looking at it today, it's easy to see why. But this raises the most profound question about the city. If the Aztecs didn't build it, who did? This is one of the greatest enigmas in archaeology. The people of Teotihuacan left behind breathtaking pyramids, intricate murals, and a city grid that was astronomically aligned. What they didn't leave behind, however, was a single written record identifying who they were. There are no king lists, no chronicles of conquest, no texts explaining their beliefs. It's like finding New York City completely empty, with magnificent skyscrapers and art, but no books, no signs, no clues about who lived there. All we have are the silent stones and the artifacts they buried with their dead. So how do scholars even begin to piece together this puzzle? The primary method is through archaeology and the analysis of art and iconography. By carefully excavating the city's structures and examining the styles of pottery, murals, and sculptures, researchers have uncovered a fascinating story of a cosmopolitan metropolis. Teotihuacan wasn't built by a single, homogeneous group. Instead, it appears to have been a melting pot of different cultures from across Mesoamerica. One of the most significant clues comes from the barrios, or neighborhoods, scattered throughout the city. Archaeologists have identified distinct ethnic enclaves. For instance, there's the Zapotec barrio. Here, the architecture, burial customs, and pottery are strikingly similar to those found hundreds of miles away in the Zapotec heartland of Oaxaca. We find Zapotec-style effigy vessels and tombs that are clear transplants from their homeland. This suggests that a community of Zapotec people, perhaps merchants or diplomats, lived and worked in Teotihuacan, maintaining their own cultural identity while being part of this larger urban experiment. It wasn't just a trading post. It was a permanent, thriving community. Then there's evidence of people from the Gulf Coast region, possibly related to later Maya or Totonac cultures. Their influence can be seen in certain artistic motifs and traded goods, like fine ceramics and precious materials not native to the Central Highlands. The presence of these groups points to Teotihuacan's role as a major economic and cultural hub, a crossroads that drew people from all over. Imagine a city where you could walk down one street and hear a Zapotec dialect turn a corner, and see art reminiscent of the Gulf Coast, and then encounter people whose ancestors were from the Otomi-speaking communities of the surrounding highlands. The Otomi people, who have inhabited the central Mexican highlands for millennia, are another key part of this story. Many scholars believe that they formed a significant portion of Teotihuacan's population, perhaps even the foundational one. Their deep-rooted presence in the region makes them strong candidates for being among the original builders and inhabitants of the city. While they, too, didn't have a written script at the time, their cultural fingerprints are thought to be woven into the fabric of the city's daily life. And of course, we can't forget the Maya. While Teotihuacan and the great Maya city-states were contemporaries, they were also rivals and trading partners. In the Maya city of Tikal, deep in the Guatemalan jungle, there's a stela, a carved stone monument, that records the arrival of a figure from Teotihuacan in the year 378 AD. This event led to a change in leadership at Tikal, and the introduction of Teotihuacan-style architecture and weaponry. Conversely, in Teotihuacan itself, archaeologists have found murals depicting figures that look distinctly Mayan. This points to a complex relationship of diplomacy, warfare, and cultural exchange between these two superpowers of ancient Mesoamerica. So Teotihuacan wasn't just a city. It was a phenomenon. A multicultural hub where Zapotecs, Otomis, people from the Gulf Coast, and perhaps even Maya emissaries lived side by side. But what held this diverse society together? The answer seems to lie in a shared ideology, a common way of seeing the universe. While each group brought its own traditions, they all participated in a broader Mesoamerican cosmological worldview. This worldview is visible everywhere in Teotihuacan's design. The city is laid out on a precise grid, aligned with celestial events. The main thoroughfare, the Avenue of the Dead, runs north-south, punctuated by the massive Pyramid of the Moon at one end and the vast citadel complex at the other. The colossal Pyramid of the Sun is oriented to mark the passage of the sun and key agricultural dates. This entire urban landscape was a stage for grand public rituals designed to maintain cosmic order. The religious iconography of the city reinforces this shared belief system. We see deities that would later be worshipped by cultures across Mesoamerica, like the feathered serpent, known to the Aztecs as Quetzalcoatl, and a powerful storm god, a precursor to the Aztec Tlaloc. These gods weren't exclusive to one ethnic group. They were part of a collective pantheon that resonated with people from different backgrounds. The feathered serpent temple, for example, is adorned with spectacular carvings of this deity, symbolizing creation, fertility, and the connection between the earthly and divine realms. The people of Teotihuacan were masters of using architecture and art to project a powerful, unifying ideology. By participating in the city's grand ceremonies, whether you were a Zapotec artisan or an Otomi farmer, you were part of the Teotihuacan project. The city's power wasn't just economic or military. It was spiritual. It was a pilgrimage center, a place where the human and divine worlds met. This shared belief system might also explain the city's unusual political structure. Unlike the Maya or later Aztecs, who glorified individual rulers in their art, Teotihuacan's art is strikingly anonymous. There are no grand statues of kings or monuments celebrating a single dynasty. Instead, the art focuses on deities, priestly figures in elaborate costumes, and processions of warriors. This has led some experts to theorize that Teotihuacan may have been governed by a council or a collective leadership, rather than a single, all-powerful monarch. Perhaps a group of elites representing different powerful families, or even different ethnic groups ruled the city together. This would have been a remarkably stable and effective way to manage such a diverse population for centuries. So, while we may never know the name the people of Teotihuacan called themselves, or the language they spoke in the city's central court, we can see the world they built. It was a world of incredible diversity, held together by a powerful shared vision of the cosmos. The mystery of who they were is, in a way, answered by what they created, a cosmopolitan city that was centuries ahead of its time, a testament to the power of shared culture and belief. The silent stones of Teotihuacan speak not of a single people, but of many peoples who came together to build a place where the gods were born. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of one of history's most fascinating mysteries. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next chapter. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think built this incredible city? Until next time, stay curious. Welcome back to our journey through the mysteries of ancient civilizations. Today, we venture into a place of profound spiritual significance and architectural genius. A city meticulously designed according to the laws of sacred geometry. Imagine standing in the heart of this metropolis, a city not built by chance but as a mirror to the cosmos itself. At its core runs a grand sprawling thoroughfare, known to us as the Avenue of the Dead. This isn't just a street. It's the central artery of the city, a ceremonial path stretching for miles, connecting the most sacred precincts. It's the spine from which the entire urban landscape unfolds, a cosmic axis linking the realms of the living, the ancestors, and the gods. Walking along it, you would have felt an overwhelming sense of order and purpose, every step guided by a grander, unseen design. At the northern end of this avenue, your gaze is drawn to a monumental structure that seems to command the very landscape. The Pyramid of the Moon. It stands guard, at the end of the sacred path, perfectly framed by the mountain behind it, Cerro Gordo. This isn't a coincidence. The pyramid was deliberately built to echo the shape of the mountain, creating a powerful dialogue between human creation and the natural world. It was a place of public ceremony, where rituals were performed in view of the masses gathered in the plaza below, connecting the community to the divine feminine energies and the cycles of water and fertility. Now turn your attention to the east of the avenue. Dominating the skyline is the colossal Pyramid of the Sun. It's one of the largest structures of its kind in the entire Western Hemisphere. This pyramid isn't just big. It's precisely positioned. Its construction was an incredible feat, requiring millions of tons of material and an immense workforce, all laboring without the use of metal tools, wheels, or pack animals. Beneath its massive base, archaeologists discovered a natural cave, modified into a cloverleaf-shaped chamber. This sacred cave, believed to be a point of origin, the womb of the earth from which humanity emerged, is the true heart of the pyramid. The entire structure was built to sanctify this primordial spot, anchoring the city to its mythical beginnings. It was the focal point for energies related to celestial power, fire, and time itself. Further south along the Avenue of the Dead, we find a massive sunken square, a vast enclosure known as the Ciudadela, or the Citadel. This wasn't a military fortress, but a political and religious heart of the city. It was the residence of the city's rulers and the administrative center of their vast empire. Within this grand complex lies perhaps the most artistically stunning structure of all, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. Though smaller than the two Great Pyramids, its facade was once a breathtaking display of sculptural art. Imagine hundreds of stone heads jutting out from its walls, the fierce, goggled visages of a storm god alternating with the undulating forms of the magnificent feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl. These carvings weren't just decoration. They were powerful symbols of creation, fertility, and political authority, broadcasting the divine right of the city's rulers to the entire population. But the true genius of the city, Geste design, lies in a subtle yet profound detail that most visitors miss. The entire city grid, the Avenue of the Dead, and all the streets branching from it is not aligned with the cardinal directions of true north, south, east, and west. Instead, the entire layout is intentionally tilted, rotated approximately 15.5 degrees east of true north. Why would an entire civilization, so obsessed with cosmic alignment, choose this peculiar orientation? This wasn't an error. It was a deliberate, highly sophisticated act of astronomical and religious engineering. For decades, scholars have debated the reason for this specific tilt. One compelling theory connects it to the sun. On two specific days of the year, August 13th and April 29th, the sun sets directly in line with this 15.5-degree orientation. August 13th is a significant date in Mesoamerican calendars, often marking the beginning of a new era or the creation of the present world. By aligning their city this way, the builders were essentially locking their sacred space into the cosmic clockwork. Every year on these crucial dates, the setting sun would cast its rays directly down the main avenues, symbolically renewing the city's sacred charter and reaffirming its connection to the divine order of the universe. Another theory suggests the alignment was a way to observe the rising and setting of the Pleiades star cluster, which was also of immense importance in Mesoamerican cosmology, often associated with the agricultural cycle and the calendar. The city's orientation might have allowed its priest astronomers to precisely track these celestial movements, ensuring the timely performance of rituals essential for the community's survival and prosperity. This 15.5-degree tilt transformed the city from a simple settlement into a massive, functioning cosmic instrument. Every street, every plaza, and every temple was part of a grand design meant to harmonize human life with the rhythms of the sun, the stars, and the sacred cycles of time. The people living here didn't just inhabit a city. They inhabited a living calendar, a three-dimensional map of the cosmos. Their daily lives, from grand state ceremonies to simple daily routines, were intertwined with this sacred geometry. The city itself was a constant reminder of their place in the universe, a testament to a worldview where there was no separation between the heavens and the earth, the spiritual and the physical. So the next time you look at a map of this ancient wonder, remember that you're not just seeing streets and buildings. You're looking at a blueprint for the universe, a city born from a profound understanding of sacred geometry. A place where every angle and every alignment had a deep, cosmic meaning. Thanks for joining us on this exploration. If you found this journey as fascinating as I did, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the ancient world. See you next time. Welcome back to our journey through the wonders of the ancient world. Today, we stand in the shadow of a true colossus, a structure that has dominated its landscape for nearly 2 millennia, the Pyramid of the Sun. This isn't just a pile of rocks. It's a testament to the ambition, engineering prowess, and spiritual devotion of the Teotihuacan civilization. Prepare to be amazed as we delve deep into the construction of this immense monument. Imagine standing at its base, craning your neck to see the top. At its zenith, the Pyramid of the Sun reaches a staggering height of 65 meters. That's like a modern 20-story building, but its height is only part of the story. Its base is a near-perfect square, with each side measuring approximately 225 meters. To put that into perspective, the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt has a base of about 230 meters per side. The similarities in scale are truly mind-boggling, especially considering these two civilizations had no known contact. The sheer footprint of this structure is vast, covering an area of over 50,000 square meters. It's a man-made mountain placed with purpose and precision. Now let's talk about the material. How do you build something this massive? The answer is stone, and a lot of it. Archaeologists estimate that over 1 million cubic meters of stone were used in its construction. 1 million cubic meters! This material wasn't just lying around. It had to be quarried, transported, shaped, and lifted into place, all without the aid of metal tools, the wheel for transport, or beasts of burden like oxen or horses. The labor force required would have been immense, numbered in the tens of thousands, working for decades to realize this monumental vision. Every single block represents hours of human effort, a physical manifestation of a collective will. The pyramid's construction is a marvel of ancient engineering. It's not a solid block of stone. Instead, it was built in a series of 5 tiers or platforms, each one set back from the one below it, creating its iconic stepped profile. This method was not just for aesthetics. It was a practical way to build to such a great height, providing stability and working platforms as the structure grew. At its heart, the pyramid has a core made of rubble fill. This consisted of locally sourced materials like earth, clay, and smaller, unworked stones. It was a clever way to add bulk and volume without having to quarry and shape every single piece of the interior. Think of it as a giant, carefully compacted mound that forms the pyramid's inner strength. Then this massive rubble core was encased in carefully fitted outer walls. These weren't rough-hewn boulders but precisely cut stone blocks, creating a smooth, angled surface for each of the 5 tiers. This outer layer was the public-facing part of the pyramid, the skin of the giant. But the Teotihuacanos didn't stop there. The final touch was a thick layer of lime plaster that covered the entire surface of the pyramid. This plaster would have created a bright, smooth finish, protecting the stone and rubble beneath from the elements. And it gets even more spectacular. This vast, plastered surface wasn't left white. It was painted, and the predominant color was a vibrant, deep red. Imagine seeing that for the first time. Not a gray stone monument, but a colossal, blood-red pyramid gleaming under the Mexican sun, a powerful symbol of life, sacrifice, and divine power. Over the centuries, the plaster and paint have eroded away, leaving the stone we see today. But for the people of Teotihuacan, their most sacred temple was a brilliant beacon of color, visible for miles around. It must have been an awe-inspiring, almost otherworldly sight. One of the most intriguing discoveries came in 1971 when archaeologists found a tunnel, a man-made cave running from the west side of the pyramid directly to a point near its center. The tunnel ends in a chamber shaped like a 4-leaf clover. What's incredible is that this tunnel and chamber predate the pyramid itself. It seems the Teotihuacanos deliberately chose this spot, this sacred cave, and then built their entire monumental pyramid directly on top of it. This suggests the pyramid's location wasn't random. It was anchored to a pre-existing sacred place, perhaps considered a point of creation or an entrance to the underworld. The pyramid wasn't just built on the land. It was built from it, incorporating the sacred geography of the site into its very foundation. The construction of the Pyramid of the Sun was a monumental undertaking, blending brute force with sophisticated engineering and deep spiritual symbolism. From its rubble core to its 5 painted tiers, every aspect of its design was deliberate. It was a cosmic mountain, a connection point between the earth and the heavens, and a project that united an entire society. The people who built this didn't leave behind written records in the way we understand them, but they didn't need to. The pyramid itself is their story, written in 1 million cubic meters of stone. It speaks of their power, their faith, and their incredible ability to transform their world. As we continue our exploration, we'll see how this single structure anchored an entire city and a civilization. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the construction of the Pyramid of the Sun. The scale of this achievement is something that's hard to fully grasp, even when standing right next to it. If you're fascinated by the ingenuity of ancient cultures, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on. In our next chapter, we'll explore the Pyramid of the Moon and the enigmatic Avenue of the Dead. You won't want to miss it. See you next time. Hello and welcome back to our journey through the mysteries of Teotihuacan. In our last chapter, we marveled at the sheer scale of the Pyramid of the Sun. But what if I told you that one of its greatest secrets lies not on its surface but deep beneath its foundations? Today, we venture into Chapter 5, Under the Pyramid, the Mysterious Tunnel. Imagine this. It's 1971. Archaeologists are exploring the base of the massive pyramid when they stumble upon something extraordinary. A pit, almost like a well, opens up near the main stairway, leading down into the darkness. This wasn't just a simple hole. It was the entrance to a hidden world, a secret passageway that had been sealed for nearly 2,000 years. What they discovered was a tunnel stretching over 100 meters, or about 330 feet, directly eastward from the front of the pyramid, ending almost exactly beneath its center. But this wasn't just any tunnel carved by human hands. It was originally a natural formation, a volcanic lava tube. Millennia ago, molten rock flowed here, and as the outer layer cooled and solidified, the liquid lava inside drained away, leaving a hollow, cave-like passage. So, how do we know this? Geologists studied the rock formations and confirmed its volcanic origins. You can even see the telltale signs of cooled lava on the walls, rippled and folded like thick fabric. But here's where it gets really interesting. The people of Teotihuacan didn't just find this cave. They transformed it. Evidence shows they deliberately enlarged and modified sections of the tube, shaping it for a specific purpose. They plastered some of the walls and even constructed partitions, creating a series of small, distinct chambers along the tunnel's length. The tunnel culminates in a larger multi-lobed chamber right under the pyramid's apex. It's shaped like a four-leaf clover, with four distinct alcoves branching off a central space. This wasn't an accident. The design is intentional, deliberate, and deeply symbolic. When archaeologists first entered this final chamber, they found it littered with offerings. Fragments of beautifully crafted pottery, obsidian blades sharp enough to see through, and remnants of intricate textiles were scattered across the floor. They also found pieces of pyrite mirrors, which, when polished, would have shimmered like captured starlight in the flickering torchlight. This discovery completely changed our understanding of the Pyramid of the Sun. It wasn't just a monument to be seen from the outside. It was built to protect and sanctify this sacred underground space. The entire colossal structure above serves as a giant marker for the holy place below. But why was this cave so important? To understand that, we need to delve into the Mesoamerican worldview. Across ancient cultures in this region, from the Maya to the Aztecs, caves were incredibly powerful places. They were seen as portals, entryways to the underworld, the realm of gods, ancestors, and supernatural forces. They were also viewed as cosmic wombs, the birthplace of humanity and the source of life-giving water and agricultural fertility. The earth itself was a living being, and caves were its mouth and its heart. For the people of Teotihuacan, finding a natural lava tube positioned so perfectly along the city's main axis must have felt like a divine sign. It was the perfect place to conduct the most sacred rituals, to commune with the gods, and to legitimize the power of their rulers. By building their most important pyramid directly on top of this sacred cave, they were anchoring their city to the very source of cosmic power. The Pyramid of the Sun wasn't just sitting on the ground. It was growing out of it, drawing its sacred energy from the heart of the earth. The cloverleaf shape of the final chamber is also highly significant. The number 4 was fundamental to Mesoamerican cosmology, representing the 4 cardinal directions and the structure of the universe. This chamber, then, was a microcosm of the cosmos, a sacred center where the human world and the divine world could intersect. It's likely that this was a place for inauguration ceremonies for rulers, or for priests to perform rituals to ensure the cyclical renewal of time and the fertility of the land. The offerings left behind tell a story of their own. Pyrite mirrors were associated with divination and seeing into other realms. The sheer quantity and quality of the pottery and other artifacts suggest these were not everyday items. They were precious gifts for the gods of the underworld, offerings made to maintain balance and secure favor. Some scholars even speculate that the tunnel and its final chamber could represent Chicamastok, the mythical place of 7 caves from which various Mesoamerican peoples believe their ancestors emerged. By building on this site, the leaders of Teotihuacan were declaring their city as the origin point, the true center of the world. So the next time you see a picture of the Pyramid of the Sun, remember what lies beneath. It's not just a solid mass of stone and earth. It's a shell, a sacred mountain built to enshrine a mysterious tunnel and a symbolic cave. A place where the ancient people of Teotihuacan connected with the very origins of creation. This hidden passage forces us to look at the entire city in a new light, not just as an architectural marvel, but as a carefully planned sacred landscape. In our next chapter, we'll explore the contents of this tunnel in more detail, examining the specific artifacts and what they tell us about the rituals that took place in this subterranean sanctuary. What other secrets did the people of Teotihuacan seal away in the darkness? Thanks for joining me on this exploration deep under the pyramid. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss what we uncover next. See you in the next chapter. Welcome back to our journey through ancient civilizations. Today, we're diving deep into the heart of Mesoamerica to unravel the mysteries of Teotihuacan, the city of the gods. This isn't just about massive pyramids. It's about the invisible forces that shaped them: time, the stars, and the sacred calendars that governed every aspect of life. So grab your explorer's hat and let's decode the ancient calendar of Teotihuacan. Before we walk the Avenue of the Dead, we need to understand how the people of Teotihuacan saw the world. For them, time wasn't just a straight line. It was a complex, cyclical dance between the sacred and the mundane, the heavens and the earth. At the heart of this dance were two incredibly sophisticated calendars, working in perfect harmony: the 260-day ritual calendar and the 365-day solar calendar. Let's start with the 260-day calendar, known in Nahuatl as the Tonopahuli. This wasn't for planting crops or marking seasons. This was the calendar of destiny, the sacred count that connected humans to the cosmos. Imagine a system with 20-day signs like rabbit, reed, flint, and water, and 13 numbers. Each day was a unique combination of a number and a sign, like 1 rabbit, 2 reed, and so on. The cycle would continue for 260 days, that's 20 times 13, before starting over. Why 260 days? Well, scholars have some fascinating theories. It might be linked to the human gestation period, symbolizing the cycle of life itself. Others suggest it relates to the cycles of Venus or the time between the sun, zenith passages at certain latitudes. Whatever its origin, this calendar was profoundly personal. The day you were born on the Tonopahuli determined your fate, your personality, and your role in society. Priests, known as day keepers, would consult this calendar for everything: naming a child, deciding on a marriage, predicting the outcome of a battle, or choosing the right day for a sacred ritual. It was the divine blueprint for life. But you can't farm with a 260-day calendar. For that, you need to track the sun. This brings us to their second calendar, the 365-day solar calendar, known as the Xupuhuali. This calendar was all about the practicalities of life in an agricultural society. It was divided into 18 months, each with 20 days. Do the math. 18 times 20 is 360. What about the other 5 days? These last 5 days, called the Nemontemi, were considered incredibly unlucky and dangerous. They were a time of stillness, a crack in the cosmic order. People would stay home, avoid important activities, and perform rituals to ward off evil spirits, waiting for the new year to begin. This solar calendar dictated the agricultural cycle: when to plant the maize, when to tend the fields, and when to harvest the bounty that sustained the massive city. Each of the 18 months was associated with a specific festival, often related to agriculture and the deities who controlled rain, fertility, and the harvest. So, while the 260-day calendar managed the spiritual world, the 365-day calendar managed the physical one. Now here's where it gets truly mind-blowing. These two calendars weren't separate. They were interlocked like two giant cosmic gears. The combination of a Tonopahuli date and a Xupuhuali date created a unique day name. This combined cycle would repeat only once every 52 years. This 52-year period, often called the calendar round, was a major milestone in Mesoamerican life, akin to a century for us. The end of a 52-year cycle was a time of great anxiety and immense ceremony. There was a fear that the world might end, that the sun might not rise again. To ensure the continuation of the cosmos, they performed the new fire ceremony. All fires in the city were extinguished. In the darkness, priests would travel to a sacred mountain and perform a ritual sacrifice. They would then use a wooden drill to light a new fire in the open chest of the victim. This new fire was a symbol of cosmic renewal. Torches lit from this sacred flame were then carried back to the city to relight every hearth, temple, and home, ensuring the sun would rise and the world would continue for another 52 years. This deep connection to time and the cosmos wasn't just abstract. It was literally built into the fabric of Teotihuacan. The city's architecture is a testament to its role as a cosmic map. The entire city is laid out on a precise grid, oriented about 15.5 degrees east of true north. Why this specific angle? For a long time it was a mystery. But we now believe it was intentional. designed to align with significant celestial events and agricultural dates. For instance, the main thoroughfare, the Avenue of the Dead, and the iconic Pyramid of the Sun are aligned with this grid. On certain days of the year, the sun rises or sets in perfect alignment with these structures. One key date is August 13th, which was often considered the beginning date of the current era in the Mesoamerican long count calendar. On this day, the sun sets directly in front of the Pyramid of the Sun. Another alignment corresponds to the day the sun passes directly overhead at its zenith, a crucial moment for timekeeping. This isn't a coincidence. The architects of Teotihuacan were master astronomers. They used their pyramids and plazas as giant astronomical observatories. The Pyramid of the Sun itself may have functioned as a monumental sundial, its shadow marking important dates throughout the year. The placement of smaller temples and shrines along the Avenue of the Dead also seems to correspond to specific star positions or calendar cycles. Imagine standing on the Avenue of the Dead during a major festival. The sun is setting, casting a perfect shadow down the length of the pyramid, signaling the time for a ritual. The architecture wasn't just a backdrop. It was an active participant in the ceremony. The city itself became a living calendar, a place where earthly life and cosmic time merged. This alignment also had practical agricultural purposes. The orientation of the city grid allowed its inhabitants to track the progression of the solar year, helping them to predict the start of the rainy season and the optimal time for planting. So the very streets they walked on were a guide for both their spiritual and their physical survival. The so-called Temple of the Feathered Serpent, or Quetzalcoatl, is another stunning example. Its facade is adorned with 365 carved heads of the feathered serpent and a fire serpent, likely representing the days of the solar year. The entire structure is a stone calendar, a permanent monument to the cycles of time that govern their world. So, when we look at Teotihuacan, we're seeing more than just ruins. We're seeing a civilization that lived and breathed by the rhythm of the cosmos. Their dual calendar system was a work of genius, allowing them to organize their society, their religion, and their agriculture with incredible precision. Their city was not just a place to live, but a carefully constructed model of the universe, where every building and every street was aligned with the stars and the sacred passage of time. The stones of Teotihuacan don't just tell a story of a lost people. They tell the story of time itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration into the heart of ancient Teotihuacan. It's a reminder that there are so many ways to see the world and our place in it. If you enjoyed this journey, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more adventures, and let me know in the comments what ancient mystery you'd like us to unravel next. Until next time, stay curious. Hey everyone, welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of Mesoamerica. Today, in Chapter 7, we're exploring a truly mind-bending concept. What did alignments actually mean to these ancient civilizations? We often talk about buildings lining up with the sun or stars, but what was the deeper significance? Why go to all that trouble? Well, it all starts with the sun. For Mesoamerican peoples, the sun wasn't just a bright object in the sky. It was the ultimate giver of life. It was the source of warmth, the power that made crops grow, and the very engine of existence. Its daily journey across the sky was the most fundamental rhythm of life. So it makes sense that they watched it, tracked it, and revered it with incredible precision. This observation wasn't just for religious reasons. It was intensely practical. Their entire agricultural system depended on understanding daylight cycles. Knowing the exact day of the solstice or equinox told them when to plant and when to harvest. The sun's position was a divine calendar, a celestial clock that dictated the cycles of feast and famine. The survival of the community hinged on correctly interpreting these solar signs. Building an observatory or aligning a temple wasn't a luxury. It was a critical piece of infrastructure, as vital as irrigation canals. Because the sun was so powerful and its cycles were so crucial for survival, the people who could interpret its movements held immense authority. This is where we see the rise of divine kingship. Rulers and high priests weren't just political leaders. They were seen as intermediaries between the earthly realm and the cosmos. They were the ones who could speak to the gods and understand the celestial language. Their ability to predict solar events, like eclipses or the solstices, was seen as proof of their divine connection. When a king commissioned a temple perfectly aligned with the sunrise on a specific important day, it was a powerful political statement. It was a physical demonstration of his power, wisdom, and favor with the gods. The alignment wasn't just about marking a date. It was about legitimizing his rule. The building itself became a stage for rituals that reinforced this authority, with the king at the center, seemingly commanding the sun itself. This visual spectacle would have been awe-inspiring, solidifying his godlike status in the eyes of his people. So these architectural alignments were a form of public propaganda, a way to say, I am the rightful ruler because the heavens themselves move at my command. The precision of the architecture was a testament to the king's power and the knowledge he controlled. Now, let's take this idea a step further. The sun's daily journey wasn't just about light and dark. It was a powerful metaphor for the most profound cycle of all, death and rebirth. Every single day, the sun was born at dawn, journeyed across the sky in its full glory, died at sunset, and traveled through the dangerous underworld at night, only to be miraculously reborn the next morning. This cosmic drama was mirrored in their mythic cycles. Many Mesoamerican deities, heroes, and even the story of creation itself followed this pattern. Gods would die and be resurrected. The hero twins of the Popol Vuh, for example, descend into the underworld, defeat the lords of death, and are reborn. This cycle was everywhere. It was in their stories, their rituals, and most importantly, in their architecture. Temples and pyramids were often designed to play out these mythic narratives using light and shadow. A famous example is the Pyramid of Chichen Itza. On the equinoxes, the setting sun creates a shadow that looks like a giant serpent slithering down the staircase, representing the descent of the god Kukulkan to the earth. This wasn't just a cool visual effect, it was a sacred event. It was the myth of divine descent and renewal playing out in real time, etched in stone and light. The building became a living embodiment of the cosmic story. This brings us to a central theme. For Mesoamerican cultures, architecture was a bridge. It was the physical link connecting the human world with the divine, the earthly plane with the cosmos. A temple wasn't just a building to house a statue. It was an active participant in celestial events. It was a machine for channeling cosmic power, a stage for sacred drama, and a calendar carved from stone. When you stood in a plaza and watched the sun align perfectly with a doorway on a sacred day, you weren't just an observer. You were participating in the cosmic order. You were witnessing the harmony between human creation and the divine plan. The very structure of your city confirmed your place in the universe and reaffirmed the stories that gave your life meaning. These alignments transformed a city from a mere collection of buildings into a living, breathing cosmogram, a map of the universe. The layout of the city center, the orientation of its main avenues, the placement of its pyramids, it all worked together to replicate the structure of the cosmos as they understood it. Walking through the city was like walking through a symbolic representation of the world, with its sacred mountains, the pyramids, and its underworld portals, the caves or cenotes. So when we look at these ancient ruins and see a perfect solar alignment, we're not just seeing clever astronomy or impressive engineering. We're seeing the physical manifestation of a worldview. We're seeing a belief system where the sun is the giver of life, its cycles dictate agriculture and survival, and the king is the divine link to that celestial power. We're seeing the epic myths of death and rebirth played out in stone and shadow. These alignments were the ultimate expression of their culture, a way to make the universe tangible and to ensure their own small part in its grand cyclical story. It was how they made sense of Njihov world and secured their place within it. Thanks so much for joining me for this chapter. It's a deep topic, but it's so key to understanding the mindset of these incredible people. If you enjoyed this, be sure to like and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next video. Welcome back, as we continue our journey through the mysteries of Teotihuacan. Tonight, we settle into Chapter 8, the sun's path across Teotihuacan. As you find a comfortable position, let your body relax, and allow your mind to drift back in time to this city of stone and stars. We're going to watch the sky just as its ancient inhabitants did, observing the slow, grand procession of the sun across the heavens. Imagine standing in the heart of Teotihuacan, perhaps at the foot of the Pyramid of the Sun. It is dawn. The air is cool and still. The first light begins to paint the eastern sky in soft shades of rose and gold. Slowly, majestically, the sun crests the distant mountains. On this day, the spring equinox, it rises almost perfectly due to east. As it climbs, its light spills over the landscape, catching the peak of the Great Pyramid first. A shadow, long and sharp, is cast westward from the pyramid, stretching far down the Avenue of the Dead. This shadow is a cosmic clock hand. As the morning progresses, the sun arcs higher and higher towards the south. The shadow shrinks, retreating back towards the base of the pyramid. By noon, the sun is at its highest point in the sky, and the pyramid's shadow is at its shortest, a small dark pool gathered at its northern foot. This daily journey is just one part of a much larger, year-long dance. The people of Teotihuacan were masters of observation. They knew that the sun did not rise in the same place every day. Let's imagine this in the simplest way possible. Think of the eastern horizon as a long stage. Each morning, the sun makes its entrance from a slightly different spot. Around the winter solstice in late December, the sun rises at its most southerly point on that horizon stage. On this day, the sunrise is a special event. From certain vantage points in the city, the sun appears to emerge from behind a specific peak on the distant mountain range. This alignment wasn't an accident. It was a carefully observed and integrated part of their worldview, marking the shortest day of the year and the symbolic rebirth of the sun. The shadows at sunrise on this day are the longest of the year, stretching far to the northwest. Now let the days and weeks flow by like a gentle river. From the winter solstice, the sunrise point begins to creep northward along the horizon each morning. Slowly day by day it moves. By the time of the spring equinox around March 21st, it has reached the midpoint of its journey. It rises due east. The city is perfectly aligned for this moment. The main axis of Teotihuacan, the Avenue of the Dead, is not perfectly north-south. It's intentionally skewed about 15.5 degrees east of true north. This specific orientation means that on certain days of the year, the sun sets directly in line with the major east-west streets that cross the avenue. The entire city grid becomes a celestial calendar. As we move from spring towards summer, the sun continues its northward march along the eastern horizon. The days grow longer, the sun climbs higher in the sky at noon. The shadows at midday become shorter and shorter. Finally, around June 21st, we reach the summer solstice. The sun rises at its most northerly point on the horizon. This marks the longest day of the year. The sun's path across the sky is high and long. The midday shadow of the pyramid is the smallest it will be all year, a mere hint of darkness. After the summer solstice, the cycle reverses. The sunrise point begins its slow journey back south along the horizon. Day by day it retreats. We pass the autumn equinox in September, another day of balance when the sun rises due east, and day and night are of nearly equal length. The sun's journey continues south, until it once again reaches its southernmost point at the winter solstice, completing the great annual cycle. The ancient astronomers of Teotihuacan used concepts we now call azimuth and horizon alignment. Let's demystify these terms as you drift deeper into relaxation. Imagine you are standing in an open field, and you draw a giant circle on the ground around you with you at the center. Now, imagine a line pointing directly north from you. The azimuth is simply the angle you have to turn, clockwise from that north line, to face a specific object, like the rising sun. So an azimuth of 90 degrees means you are facing due east. An azimuth of 180 degrees is due south. The builders of Teotihuacan were masters of azimuth. They didn't just build a pyramid. They positioned it so that from a specific observation point, the sun on the solstice would rise at a very particular azimuth, aligning perfectly with a notch in the mountains or another man-made marker. Horizon alignment is just what it sounds like. It's about how things line up on the horizon. From the right spot, the corner of a pyramid might seem to touch a mountain peak, just as the sun sets behind it. These weren't just pretty views. They were calendar dates, carved into the landscape itself. The city was a living instrument, designed to interact with the light and shadow of the cosmos. Twice a year, something truly remarkable happens. The sun passes directly overhead at noon, a moment called the zenith passage. On these 2 days, which in Teotihuacan occur in mid-May and late July, a vertical object casts no shadow at all. It's believed that these dates were incredibly important, perhaps marking the start of the rainy season and the planting of maize. Imagine the city at noon on one of these days. The Great Pyramids, for a fleeting moment, would stand shadowless, as if the sun itself were resting directly on their peaks. A moment of perfect union between the earth and the heavens. Let's return to the Pyramid of the Sun. Some scholars have noticed a fascinating play of light and shadow on its western face. As the sun sets on the days of the equinoxes, The shadow of the smaller platforms on the pyramid creates a pattern that looks like a serpent of light, undulating down the staircase. It's a fleeting spectacle, a message written in light, visible only for a few minutes on these special days. It speaks of a deep understanding of the sun's path, an ability to sculpt with light itself. Think of the patience and dedication required. Generations of skywatchers, night after night, year after year, noting the precise location of sunrise and sunset. They didn't have apps or telescopes. They had their eyes, their minds, and their unwavering attention. They built their observations into the very stone of their city, creating a place that was in constant dialogue with the sun, moon, and stars. As you breathe deeply, feel the rhythm of this cosmic clock, the slow, steady shift of shadows, the gentle, predictable migration of the sun along the horizon. There is a profound peace in this cycle. It's a rhythm that has governed life on Earth for eons. In Teotihuacan, this rhythm was not just observed. It was celebrated and woven into the fabric of daily existence. The city was a mirror of the cosmos, its avenues and pyramids reflecting the orderly, majestic movements of the sky. Let the image of the sun's journey soothe your mind. From the long shadows of winter to the short, intense light of summer and the perfect balance of the equinoxes. Let it be a reminder of the cycles of life, of change, and of renewal. Just as the sun always returns, there is a constant, steady presence in the universe. Allow this thought to anchor you as you drift further and further into a state of deep, restful sleep. The sun has set over Teotihuacan, and the stars are beginning to appear. Rest now, under the same sky they watched so long ago. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe for more chapters on our journey into the past. Sleep well. Welcome back to our journey through Teotihuacan. Today we're diving into Chapter 9, the alignment. We're about to uncover one of the most breathtaking celestial events tied to this ancient city the moment the sun sets directly behind the Pyramid of the Sun. Picture this. You're standing on the Avenue of the Dead, this massive ancient thoroughfare that has witnessed centuries of history. As the day draws to a close, you look towards the west, and there it is, the colossal Pyramid of the Sun, dominating the horizon. But on a few very special days of the year, something truly magical happens. Specifically, around May 19th and 20th, and again around July 24th and 25th, the setting sun aligns perfectly with the pyramid's central axis. From your viewpoint on the Avenue of the Dead, it looks as though the sun is slowly descending to rest right on top of the pyramid before sinking behind it. It's a stunning visual spectacle, a perfect union of human ingenuity and cosmic cycles. This isn't just a random coincidence. The precision of this alignment tells us that the builders of Teotihuacan were master astronomers. They possessed a deep understanding of the sun's path across the sky and intentionally designed their most sacred structures to interact with it. The Pyramid of the Sun wasn't just a monument, it was a cosmic clock, a calendar carved in stone. So what's the significance of these specific dates? They're not solstices or equinoxes, which are the more common astronomical markers. These dates are unique to Teotihuacan's calendar system. May 19th marks the beginning of the rainy season, a crucial time for an agricultural society. The sun's alignment with the pyramid would have been a powerful signal to begin planting maize, the lifeblood of their civilization. It was a divine confirmation that the time was right, a promise of sustenance from the heavens. The second alignment in late July is just as important. It occurs right as the sun passes its zenith, its highest point in the sky. This zenith passage was another critical moment in Mesoamerican cosmology, often associated with powerful deities and the cycle of life and death. For the people of Teotihuacan, seeing the sun set behind their Great Pyramid on this day would have reinforced their connection to the cosmos and the divine order of the universe. Think about the experience. Thousands of people would gather on the Avenue of the Dead. Priests would likely perform elaborate ceremonies on the pyramid's summit. As the sun dipped, its golden rays would have bathed the entire city in a warm, ethereal glow. The pyramid itself would appear as a dark silhouette against a fiery sky, a gateway between the earthly and celestial realms. It would have been a profoundly spiritual and communal event, uniting the entire city in a shared moment of awe and reverence. This alignment also reveals something fascinating about the city's layout. The entire grid of Teotihuacan is slightly skewed from the cardinal directions. It's not perfectly north, south, east, west. For a long time, scholars wondered why. But this solar alignment provides a compelling answer. The city wasn't oriented to the geographical poles, but to the cosmos. The path of the sun, and specifically this sunset alignment, dictated the very blueprint of this great metropolis. The Avenue of the Dead doesn't point to true north. It points to the setting sun on these sacred dates. This deliberate orientation turned the entire city into a living observatory. Every street, every plaza, every temple was part of a grand cosmic diagram. The Pyramid of the Sun was the heart of this system, the central point where heaven and earth met. It was a monumental gnomon, the pointer on a giant sundial, using shadows and light to track time and seasons. Imagine the knowledge required to achieve this. The architects needed to understand geometry, astronomy, and complex calendrical calculations. They had to observe the sun's movements over years, maybe even generations, to pinpoint these exact dates and angles. Then, they had to mobilize a massive workforce to construct a pyramid of such staggering scale with millimeter precision. It's a testament to their intellectual and organizational prowess. This sunset phenomenon wasn't just for the elite or the priests. It was a public display of cosmic order, a visual lesson for every citizen of Teotihuacan. It reinforced the power of the rulers, who were seen as intermediaries between the people and the gods. By demonstrating their ability to predict and celebrate these celestial events, they legitimized their authority and maintained social cohesion. So when we look at the Pyramid of the Sun today, we're not just seeing a pile of rocks. We're seeing an ancient astronomical instrument, a symbol of a civilization that was deeply in tune with the rhythms of the universe. The alignment of the setting sun is a fleeting, beautiful moment that connects us directly to the worldview of the Teotihuacanos. It's a reminder that for them, the sky was not just a backdrop. It was an active participant in their daily lives, a source of guidance, meaning, and power. It makes you wonder what other secrets are encoded in the city's architecture, waiting to be deciphered. What other celestial events did they commemorate? As we continue our exploration, we'll see that the Pyramid of the Sun's alignment is just one piece of a much larger, intricate cosmic puzzle. The entire city of Teotihuacan is a map of the heavens, laid out on the earth. Thanks for watching. Join us next time as we continue to unravel the mysteries of this incredible ancient city. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. See you then. Have you ever wondered why certain dates were so important to ancient civilizations? Let's just dive into Chapter 10 of our series and explore the profound meaning behind specific dates in the Mesoamerican world. The key to understanding this lies in a very specific number: 65. That's right, a 65-day interval. This wasn't just a random number. It was a fundamental block of time, a sacred rhythm that pulsed through their society. When we look at significant historical events, ceremonial dates, or even astronomical alignments recorded by cultures like the Maya or the Aztecs, we often find this 65-day separation. For example, a major ceremony might be held, and exactly 65 days later, another related festival would take place. This pattern repeats again and again throughout their historical records. It's like finding a secret code hidden in plain sight. But why 65 days? It's deeply connected to their complex calendrical systems. Mesoamerican cultures famously used multiple calendars simultaneously. The two most important were the 260-day sacred calendar, known as the Tzolk'in to the Maya, and the 365-day solar calendar, called the Hab. The 65-day period is exactly 1/4 of the 260-day sacred cycle. Think of it like our seasons, which divide the year into 4 parts. For them, the 260-day cycle was divided into 4 65-day periods, each with its own unique spiritual significance, patron deities, and ceremonial obligations. This division brought a structured, predictable rhythm to their religious life. So when priests and rulers scheduled major events 65 days apart, they were embedding them within this sacred cosmic framework. It was a way of saying, this event is not random. It is part of the divine order of the universe. It reinforced their worldview and the power of the calendar to connect the human realm with the realm of the gods. Every 65 days marked a shift in spiritual energy, a new chapter in the ongoing sacred narrative. Now, this wasn't just about abstract spiritual concepts. This 65-day interval had incredibly practical, down-to-earth applications, especially when it came to their survival. I'm talking about agriculture. For a society dependent on farming, knowing when to plant and when to harvest was a matter of life and death. The calendar wasn't just a tool for priests. It was the farmer's most essential guide. Let's talk about the beginning of the rainy season. In many parts of Mesoamerica, the transition from the dry season to the wet season is abrupt and crucial. Planting your crops too early means they could wither in the sun before the rains arrive. Planting too late could mean the growing season is too short. The arrival of the rains was a moment of immense importance, celebrated with rituals and ceremonies. Ancient skywatchers were masters of observation. They tracked the sun's position, the stars, and the weather patterns over centuries. They noticed that the onset of the rainy season often coincided with specific dates in their calendars. By marking this date, they could then use the 65-day interval as a reliable countdown or planning tool. For example, a certain ceremony might signal that the rains are expected to begin in 65 days. This gave farmers the precise window they needed to prepare their fields, ready their seeds, and organize community labor. It transformed farming from a game of chance into a well-orchestrated science. And the most important crop of all was maize. Maize, or corn, was more than just food. It was the physical manifestation of life itself. Mesoamerican creation stories often tell of humans being formed from maize dough. The entire agricultural year revolved around the maize planting cycle. From sowing the seed to the final harvest, each stage was tied to the calendar. Let's trace a typical cycle. The first major event would be the ceremonial preparation and planting of the maize seeds. This had to be timed perfectly with the first rains. Let's say this happens on day X. The farmers and priests knew that the maize would need a certain amount of time to grow before it could be harvested. Guess what interval often appears in this cycle? That's right, 65 days. A ceremony might be held 65 days after planting, perhaps to honor the maize god and encourage the young stalks to grow strong. This period would be a time of careful tending, weeding, and protecting the crops from pests. Then, another 65-day period might pass leading up to the time when the maize is ready for its first green harvest. And another interval might mark the final harvest of dried kernels, which would sustain the community through the dry season. So the 65-day cycle wasn't just a single marker. It was a repeating beat that structured the entire agricultural year. It broke down the long, daunting process of growing food into manageable, predictable stages. Each 65-day block had its own tasks, its own rituals, and its own significance in the life cycle of the maize and, by extension, the life cycle of the people. This dual function is what made the calendar so powerful. It was both a sacred text and a farmer's almanac. For the priests, the 65-day interval was a way to schedule rituals, interpret omens, and maintain the cosmic balance. They were the keepers of this sacred knowledge, and their ability to seemingly predict natural events like the rains gave them immense authority and prestige. A ruler who could align his reign with these cosmic cycles was seen as legitimate and divinely favored. But for the common farmer, the calendar was intensely personal and practical. It was a guide passed down through generations. When a priest announced a ceremony, the farmer understood the hidden message. It's time to prepare the fields. When a particular constellation appeared in the sky on a date marked by the calendar, the farmer knew the rains were near. It was a shared language that united the entire community, from the highest king to the humblest farmer, in a single coordinated effort for survival and prosperity. The 65-day marker wasn't just about counting days. It was about syncing human life with the rhythms of the cosmos. It was about observing the natural world with incredible precision and embedding that wisdom into a cultural system that was both spiritually profound and eminently practical. It allowed them to build large, complex societies in a challenging environment by ensuring a stable food supply. So the next time you look at a calendar, remember the ancient Mesoamericans. Their calendars were not just for tracking appointments. They were a grand, unified theory of everything, connecting the stars, the seasons, the gods, and the life-giving maize into a single, elegant, and cyclical story. And at the heart of that story was the simple, yet powerful 65-day rhythm that gave their world order and meaning. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this fascinating, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. We have so much more to explore together. See you next time. Welcome, traveler, to the heart of an ancient city as the day prepares to surrender to the night. Find a comfortable position, close your eyes if you wish, and let my voice guide you into a world long past, yet alive in the echoes of time. We stand at the foot of a great pyramid, its stone steps worn smooth by centuries of devotion. The sun, a magnificent orb of liquid gold, begins its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of fiery orange, soft rose, and deepening violet. A gentle breeze whispers through the open plaza, carrying with it the sense of the surrounding jungle and the anticipation of the evening's rituals. The air around us grows thick with a sacred fragrance. Look toward the temple at the pyramid's peak. There, silhouetted against the vibrant sky, figures move with deliberate grace. These are the priests, guardians of ancient traditions. One holds a censer, a vessel of fired clay, from which a thin, curling ribbon of white smoke rises. He has just lit the incense, a blend of dried herbs and precious tree resins. The scent is woody, sweet, and slightly spicy, a calming aroma designed to cleanse the space and quiet the mind. It drifts down from the temple, a fragrant blessing blanketing the plaza and all who have gathered. Another priest steps forward, his hands holding a small, intricately carved bowl. Inside are nuggets of copal, the sacred resin of the gods. He carefully places them onto hot coals within a larger brazier. Instantly, a dense, fragrant smoke billows upwards, carrying prayers and gratitude to the heavens. The scent of copal is unique, piney, citrusy, and deeply earthy. It is the smell of reverence, of connection between the earthly and the divine. As the smoke ascends, it seems to merge with the colors of the sunset, a visible link between this world and the next. Imagine breathing in this sacred air, feeling it purify your thoughts and soothe your spirit. Each wisp of smoke is a silent prayer, a quiet hope sent into the vastness of the cosmos. Listen closely. Beneath the whisper of the wind and the crackle of the burning copal, a new sound emerges. It is the soft, rhythmic beat of a drum. The sound is not loud or jarring, but deep and resonant, like a steady heartbeat. It echoes gently across the plaza, a primal pulse that seems to emanate from the very stones of the pyramid. The drummer, seated near the base of the structure, plays with a focused calm. The beat is slow, hypnotic, drawing you deeper into this moment of tranquility. It is a sound that measures the passing of time, each beat a farewell to the departing sun and a welcome to the coming stars. It synchronizes the breaths of everyone gathered, creating a shared sense of peace and unity. As the drum continues its steady rhythm, more people begin to gather in the plaza. They come from the stone-paved causeways and the thatched-roof homes nestled at the edge of the jungle. They are families, elders, and young children, their faces illuminated by the warm, fading light. There is no rush, no clamor. They move with a quiet reverence, finding their places on the cool stone floor of the plaza. Their colorful woven garments are a beautiful tapestry against the gray stone. A low murmur of conversation hums through the crowd, but as the sun dips lower, a respectful silence falls. All eyes turn westward, fixed on the magnificent spectacle unfolding in the sky. The sun now touches the top of the pyramid, its final rays stretching like golden fingers across the city. The shadows of the temples and palaces grow long, creating a dramatic interplay of light and dark. The priests atop the pyramid raise their arms to the sky, their forms stark against the brilliant glow. They are bidding farewell to the sun god, thanking him for the day's warmth and light. The crowd below stands in rapt attention, their faces bathed in the last golden light. It is a moment of collective awe, a shared experience of beauty and spirituality that transcends words. You can feel the energy in the air, a profound sense of peace, gratitude, and belonging. The sensory details of this sacred time are all around you. Feel the cool stone beneath you, a grounding connection to the earth. Feel the gentle evening breeze on your skin, a soft caress that cools the warmth of the day. Inhale the complex blend of scents, the sweet, purifying smoke of incense, the earthy richness of copal, the faint perfume of night-blooming flowers from the nearby gardens. The air itself feels different, charged with a quiet power. The world seems to slow down and your awareness is heightened. Every detail becomes vivid, from the intricate carvings on the temple walls to the distant call of a tropical bird settling in for the night. The sun sinks lower still, now a fiery sliver on the horizon. The sky is a masterpiece of deep purples, indigos, and the first hint of starry black. The priests begin a low, melodic chant. Their voices, harmonizing in an ancient tongue, are not loud, but they carry a profound resonance. The chant flows like a gentle river, its cadence matching the rhythmic beat of the drum. It speaks of cycles, of endings and beginnings, of the eternal dance between day and night, life and death. The words may be unfamiliar, but their meaning is felt in the heart, a message of balance, continuity, and faith in the cosmic order. Let the combined sounds wash over you, the steady grounding drumbeat and the flowing, ethereal chant. Together, they create a powerful soundscape, a lullaby for the departing day. The vibrations seem to travel through the ground, up through your body, calming your nervous system and releasing any lingering tension. The worries of your own day begin to fade, replaced by the simple, profound peace of this ancient ceremony. You are a silent observer, a welcome guest in this moment of collective meditation. The boundary between past and present blurs, and you are simply here, now immersed in this timeless ritual of sunset. The last sliver of the sun disappears behind the Great Pyramid. A collective sigh, soft as a whisper, ripples through the crowd. The day is officially over, but the ceremony is not. The priests light torches, their flickering flames creating dancing shadows on the stone walls. The firelight casts a warm, intimate glow on the faces in the plaza. The drumbeat softens, becoming even more subtle, and the chanting transitions to a quieter, more meditative tone. The first stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, bright and clear in the unpolluted air. The moon, a pale crescent, rises to take its place as the guardian of the night. The ritual now honors the coming of night, the time of rest, dreams, and introspection. The offerings of copal continue, the fragrant smoke now a prayer to the moon and the stars. The atmosphere has shifted from one of farewell to one of welcome. It is a peaceful transition, a natural and necessary part of the daily cycle. The people in the plaza remain, soaking in the serene ambiance. Some close their eyes, their lips moving in silent prayer. Others gaze up at the vast, star-dusted heavens, feeling a sense of wonder and connection to the universe. As the ceremony slowly winds down, the priests descend the grand staircase, their torches leading the way. The drum falls silent, and the final notes of the chant fade into the quiet of the night. The sacred space is now filled only with the soft crackle of the braziers and the gentle murmur of the crowd as they begin to disperse. They move slowly, unwilling to break the spell of peace that has settled over them. They carry the tranquility of the ritual with them as they return to their homes, ready for a night of restful sleep. Remain here for a few moments longer in the quiet plaza. The air is still fragrant with incense. The torches cast a warm, comforting light. The Great Pyramid stands as a silent, powerful sentinel against the starry sky. Feel the deep calm that permeates this place. Allow it to seep into your being, to quiet your mind and relax your body. This ancient ritual of sunset, with its sights, sounds, and scents, has prepared the world for rest. And it has prepared you to. Carry this sense of peace with you as you drift off to sleep. Thank you for joining this journey. May your rest be deep and your dreams be sweet. Good night. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our journey into the heart of ancient mysteries. Today, we're diving deep into Chapter 12 of our series, Shadows and Stairways, exploring the incredible idea of the pyramid as a cosmic clock. We often see these monumental structures as tombs or temples, but what if their primary purpose was something far more intricate and connected to the heavens? Imagine standing at the base of a colossal pyramid as the sun begins its daily journey across the sky. You'd notice something remarkable. The shadows cast by this massive structure aren't random. They move with a predictable, deliberate precision, like the hands of a giant celestial timepiece. This isn't just a coincidence of architecture. It's a testament to the incredible astronomical knowledge of its builders. Let's focus on the Great Pyramid of Giza. Its four faces are almost perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. This precise orientation means that the shadows it casts at sunrise and sunset, and throughout the day, act as perfect markers of time. On the spring and autumn equinoxes, when day and night are of equal length, something truly special happens. At sunset on these days, the northwest corner of the pyramid casts a shadow that perfectly aligns with the northeast corner, creating a straight line of shadow that runs along the pyramid's northern base. It's a fleeting event, lasting only a few minutes, that signals the exact moment of the equinox. It's as if the pyramid itself is announcing the changing of the seasons. This function as a solar calendar is breathtaking. An ancient civilization, without the aid of modern technology, built a monument so precise that it could pinpoint these critical days of the year. Think about the importance of this for an agricultural society. Knowing the exact day of the equinox was vital for planting and harvesting crops, ensuring the survival and prosperity of their people. The pyramid wasn't just a symbol of power, it was a practical, life-sustaining tool. But the story doesn't end with the equinoxes. The pyramid also marks the solstices, the longest and shortest days of the year. On the summer solstice, the sun rises to the northeast. If you were standing at the Sphinx and looking towards the pyramids, you would see the sun rise perfectly between the Great Pyramid and the Pyramid of Khafre. Conversely, during the winter solstice, the sun sets in the southwest, creating a similar alignment when viewed from a specific vantage point. These alignments are too perfect to be accidental. They are the work of master architects and astronomers who embedded the cycles of the sun into the very fabric of their most sacred structures. Now, let's travel from Egypt to Mexico, to the magnificent pyramid of Chichen Itza, known as El Castillo. This pyramid is perhaps the most famous example of a structure designed to interact with light and shadow. El Castillo has 4 stairways, each with 91 steps. If you multiply 91 by 4, you get 364. Add the top platform, and you have 365, the number of days in a solar year. The entire pyramid is a physical representation of a calendar. But the true spectacle happens during the spring and autumn equinoxes. As the afternoon sun descends, it casts a series of triangular shadows down the northern staircase. These shadows creep downwards, connecting with the carved stone serpent head at the base of the stairway. The effect is astonishing. A giant serpent of light appears to be slithering down the side of the pyramid. This phenomenon, known as the descent of Kukulkan, draws thousands of visitors every year. It's a powerful and dramatic display, a fusion of art, astronomy, and religion. The Maya didn't just build a calendar. They brought their cosmos to life in stone and shadow. The stairways and tiers of these pyramids are the key. Each step, each edge, every angle was meticulously planned. The builders understood the path of the sun so intimately that they could predict exactly how shadows would fall on any given day of the year. Consider the tiers or levels of the pyramids. The shadows cast by these tiers would shorten and lengthen throughout the day, acting like a giant sundial. The edges of the stairways, like those at El Castillo, would create distinct shadow patterns that could be used as markers for specific days or even hours. Let's imagine an ancient priest or astronomer standing before the pyramid each morning. By observing the length and position of the shadow cast by a specific corner or tier, they could determine the time of day with surprising accuracy. They could also track the progress of the seasons by noting how the shadow's position at sunrise shifted along the base of the pyramid from one day to the next. The pyramid was their clock, their calendar, and their connection to the divine order of the universe. This concept of shadow casting isn't limited to just pyramids. Think of ancient obelisks in Egypt or the standing stones of Stonehenge in England. These monoliths also acted as shadow clocks, or gnomons, the part of a sundial that casts the shadow. But the pyramids took this concept to a monumental, awe-inspiring scale. They weren't just single pointers. They were complex, three-dimensional instruments. The interplay of light and shadow across the multifaceted surfaces created a dynamic and information-rich display. For example, the subtle concavity of the faces of the Great Pyramid of Giza, a feature so slight it's only visible from the air during the equinoxes, creates a split shadow effect. For a brief moment at sunrise and sunset on the equinox, the pyramid appears to be an 8-sided figure, not a 4-sided one. This fleeting illusion further highlights these significant days, adding another layer of complexity and genius to its design. Why go to such lengths? It shows a deep obsession with precision and a desire to capture the rhythm of the cosmos in their architecture. The symbolism is profound. Light represented life, order, and the divine, while shadow represented the underworld or the unknown. The daily and yearly dance of light and shadow across the pyramid's surface was a reenactment of the cosmic struggle and balance between these forces. The descent of the serpent at Chichen Itza wasn't just a cool visual effect. It was the manifestation of a god, a visible sign of the sacred cycle of time. So, when we look at these ancient pyramids, let's see them not just as static monuments of a bygone era, but as active living instruments. They were cosmic clocks, calendars, and astronomical observatories, built by people who possessed a knowledge of the heavens that we are only now beginning to fully appreciate. They encoded the very rhythms of the universe into stone, creating a timeless legacy of their wisdom. The shadows they cast are not just absences of light. They are messages, sent across millennia, telling a story of time, of the seasons, and of our place in the cosmos. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of shadows and stairways. It's incredible to think about the layers of meaning hidden within these ancient wonders. If you enjoyed this journey, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of the past. Let me know in the comments which pyramid fascinates you the most. Until next time, keep questioning and keep exploring. Welcome back to our series, where today we're diving deep into Chapter 13, the archaeological evidence of alignment. For centuries, people have marveled at the precision of ancient structures. Were they just placed randomly, or was there a grander design at play? Let's unpack the science that finally gave us the answer. Our story begins in the 1970s and 80s. Picture this: researchers with basic tools, like theodolites and compasses, painstakingly measuring angles and orientations under the scorching sun. These early pioneers were the first to systematically question the placement of these megalithic wonders. They noticed recurring patterns, suggesting that many sites weren't just arbitrarily built, but were deliberately oriented towards significant celestial events, like the solstices and equinoxes. Their work was groundbreaking, but also limited. They faced challenges like magnetic interference, landscape changes over millennia, and the sheer scale of the sites. Their data was compelling but often met with skepticism. Was it a true pattern or just a series of coincidences? They laid the foundation, but a more powerful tool was needed to see the bigger picture. Fast forward to the 21st century, and archaeology gets a massive upgrade. Enter LIDAR technology. LIDAR, which stands for light detection and ranging, is like a superpower for archaeologists. By mounting these sensors on planes or drones, researchers can send down millions of laser pulses, creating incredibly detailed 3D maps of the ground. This technology can digitally see through dense forest canopies and vegetation, revealing hidden structures and subtle landscape features that were invisible to the naked eye for thousands of years. Suddenly, entire ancient cities, roads, and agricultural systems emerged from the jungle, providing a much richer context for the monuments we already knew about. We could now see not just a single temple, but how it connected to an entire network of causeways and plazas. But LIDAR was just one piece of the puzzle. The other was modern horizon line astronomy. By combining the precise location data from LIDAR with sophisticated astronomical software, researchers could travel back in time. They could simulate the exact view of the sky from any point on Earth, at any date in history. This meant they could stand virtually at an ancient temple's doorway and see precisely what the sun, moon, and stars were doing on the day it was built. They were no longer just measuring a building's orientation. They were recreating the celestial canvas the original architects worked with. This fusion of technologies allowed for a level of accuracy our predecessors could only dream of. With these new tools in hand, researchers went back to the old sites with new eyes. They conducted meticulous survey measurements of the buildings themselves, recording the exact angle of every wall, doorway, and corridor. They weren't just looking at the general orientation anymore, they were analyzing the sightlines. What did you see when you stood in the central chamber and looked out the main entrance? What did you see from the top of the pyramid? They inputted this precise architectural data into the astronomical software, and that's when the magic happened. The results were undeniable. Across continents and cultures, a clear pattern emerged. The alignments weren't random. A temple's main doorway would perfectly frame the rising sun on the winter solstice. The corner of a pyramid would align with the northernmost rising of Venus. Entire city grids were laid out according to astronomical principles. The odds of this happening by chance were, for lack of a better word, astronomical. It was a clear demonstration of intentionality. Think about the implications. This wasn't just about marking time or creating a calendar. These alignments integrated the heavens into the very fabric of daily life. The architecture was a clock, a compass, and a sacred text all rolled into one. It connected the earthly realm with the cosmic order, reinforcing the power of the rulers and the beliefs of the people. It demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of mathematics, engineering, and astronomy that we are only now beginning to fully appreciate. The science confirmed what the myths and legends had hinted at all along. These ancient builders weren't just placing stones. They were sculpting landscapes to reflect the heavens. The evidence is now overwhelming. From the early painstaking surveys of the 70s and 80s to the high-tech revelations of LIDAR and Archaeoastronomy, the journey of discovery has been incredible. Researchers have definitively confirmed that these alignments were intentional, a product of careful observation and brilliant engineering. They weren't just building structures. They were creating a dialogue between the Earth and the sky, a dialogue that we are finally able to listen to thanks to modern science. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the evidence. It's truly fascinating to see how technology can unlock the secrets of the past. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. We have so much more to explore. See you next time. Have you ever wondered if ancient civilizations were more connected than we think? Let's talk about Teotihuacan, that incredible city in ancient Mexico. We've seen how its main avenue, the Avenue of the Dead, and its pyramids are aligned with the sun's movements, especially sunrise on certain days of the year. But here's the mind-blowing part. Teotihuacan isn't alone. This fascination with the sun, this celestial clockwork, is a global phenomenon that spans continents and millennia. Let's journey across the Atlantic to the windswept plains of England, to Stonehenge. This world-famous circle of massive stones is a prehistoric masterpiece. For centuries, people have gathered there to witness the summer solstice sunrise. On that specific day, the sun rises directly over the heel stone, casting a perfect ray of light straight into the heart of the monument. It's an astronomical alignment so precise it leaves no doubt that its builders were master skywatchers, using stone to lock in a key moment of the solar year. Just like the architects of Teotihuacan, they were marking a celestial event of immense importance. Now let's head over to Ireland, to a site even older than Stonehenge and the pyramids of Giza. It's called Newgrange. From the outside, it looks like a giant, grass-covered mound. But inside, it holds a secret. A long, narrow passage leads to a central chamber. For just a few days around the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, something magical happens. As the sun rises, a beam of light penetrates a small opening above the entrance, slowly creeping down the entire length of the passage, illuminating the inner chamber in a golden glow. This event lasts for only about 17 minutes. The builders of Newgrange engineered this incredible structure over 5,000 years ago to capture this one specific moment, celebrating the rebirth of the sun and the promise of longer days to come. The technical skill required is staggering, echoing the precision we see at Teotihuacan. Let's travel south to the warm lands of Egypt, a civilization famous for its monumental architecture and deep connection to the sun god, Ra. Temples like Karnak and Abu Simbel are not just randomly placed structures. They are cosmic engines. The great temple of Amun-Re at Karnak, for instance, is aligned so that on the winter solstice, sunlight floods its main axis, lighting up sanctuary after sanctuary deep within the complex. Similarly, at Abu Simbel, twice a year on dates said to correspond to the pharaoh Ramses II's coronation and birth, the morning sun's rays pierce the darkness of the inner sanctum, illuminating statues of the gods and the pharaoh himself. The Egyptians, just like the people of Teotihuacan, saw their rulers and their entire cosmology as intrinsically linked to the solar cycle. Their temples weren't just places of worship. They were instruments designed to interact with the heavens. Now, let's come back to the Americas, but this time we'll head north to the southwestern United States, to a place called Chaco Canyon in New Mexico. Here, the ancestral Puebloan people built remarkable multi-story great houses and a complex network of roads. But one of their most famous solar markers is the sun dagger petroglyph on Fajada Butte. High up on the butte, behind 3 massive stone slabs, a spiral carving is etched into the rock face. At midday on the summer solstice, a single sliver of sunlight, a dagger of light, slices perfectly through the center of this spiral. At the winter solstice, 2 daggers of light frame the spiral. And during the equinoxes, a smaller dagger strikes a secondary spiral. It's an elegant, natural calendar, created with a profound understanding of the sun's path across the sky. So what does this all mean? From Teotihuacan in Mexico, to Stonehenge in England, Newgrange in Ireland, the temples of Egypt, and Chaco Canyon in the United States, we see a recurring theme. These weren't isolated instances of sun worship. This was a shared human endeavor. Using stone, earth, and light, ancient cultures across the globe developed sophisticated ways to track the seasons, predict agricultural cycles, and connect their earthly lives to the cosmic order. They were all speaking a similar language, the language of the sun. Teotihuacan, with its grand city-wide solar alignment, stands as one of the most ambitious examples, but it's part of a much larger human story. It shows us that our ancestors, separated by vast oceans and thousands of years, all looked up at the same sun and felt a deep need to understand their place beneath it. They encoded their knowledge in stone, leaving behind a legacy that continues to inspire awe and wonder today. They remind us that the sky has always been our first clock, our first calendar, and our first map of the cosmos. Thanks so much for watching and joining me on this journey across the ancient world. If you found this as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the mysteries of our past. See you in the next video. Imagine a city bathed in the golden light of the sun, where millions of people live, work, and worship under the watchful eye of a colossal pyramid. This isn't a fantasy. This was Teotihuacan, the city of the sun, one of the most magnificent urban centers of the ancient world. But what was it really like to live there, day in and day out? Let's pull back the curtain of time and walk the streets of this incredible metropolis. Forget what you think you know about ancient cities. Teotihuacan was a masterclass in urban planning. At its heart was the monumental Avenue of the Dead, a grand ceremonial axis lined with temples and palaces. But radiating out from this sacred core was a sprawling grid of streets, creating a city that was organized, efficient, and home to a diverse population of up to 200,000 people. This wasn't just a ceremonial center. It was a bustling, living city. So where did everyone live? Not in scattered huts, but in remarkable multi-family apartment compounds. Picture this: single-story stone structures built around open-air patios. These weren't just simple dwellings. They were intricately designed complexes, often housing several related families. Each compound was a self-contained world. The central patios were the heart of daily life, open to the sky, letting in light and air. This is where families would cook, weave textiles, and where children would play. It was a space for community, for sharing stories, and for performing private household rituals. Many of these compounds were surprisingly comfortable. The walls were made of volcanic stone and mud mortar, covered in smooth lime plaster that was often painted with vibrant murals. These weren't just decorative. They told stories of gods, myths, and the natural world. Imagine waking up every morning to walls adorned with images of jaguars, eagles, or deities like the storm god Tlaloc. It was art woven into the very fabric of daily existence, a constant reminder of the spiritual world that surrounded them. But life wasn't just confined to the home. The city thrummed with economic activity. Let's head to the Great Compound, believed to be the city's main marketplace. The air here would have been thick with 1,000 different smells and a cacophony of sounds. Merchants from all over Mesoamerica would have gathered here, their stalls overflowing with goods. You'd see vibrant tropical bird feathers from the Maya lowlands, shimmering green jade, and exotic seashells from the distant coasts. Local farmers would be selling maize, beans, squash, and chili peppers, the staples of the Teotihuacan diet. The market was a sensory explosion, a place where languages, cultures, and goods from hundreds of miles away all converged. It was the economic engine of the empire, a testament to its vast influence and trade networks. Now let's step into one of the city's thousands of workshops. Teotihuacan was famous for its artisans. In one part of the city, you'd hear the rhythmic tap-tap-tapping of obsidian nappers. Obsidian, a black volcanic glass, was Teotihuacan's treasure. Skilled craftspeople would expertly fracture the stone to create razor-sharp blades, projectile points, and intricate figurines. These weren't just tools. They were valuable commodities traded across the continent. The ground in these workshops would be littered with millions of tiny obsidian flakes, glittering in the sun like black diamonds, a byproduct of centuries of intense production. In another neighborhood, you'd find the potters. The air would be dusty and smell of wet clay. Here, artisans would be shaping clay into the iconic pottery of Teotihuacan. Think of the classic cylindrical tripod vases with their distinctive slab feet and stucco decorations, or the mass-produced orangeware bowls and jars used in every household. These potters weren't just making kitchenware. They were creating vessels for rituals, for trade, and for eternity, as many were placed in burials as offerings for the afterlife. Each piece, from the simplest bowl to the most elaborate ceremonial vessel, was a product of skill and tradition passed down through generations. But Teotihuacan wasn't just a city for its permanent residents. It was a holy city, a destination for pilgrims. Imagine people traveling for weeks, or even months, on foot, drawn to the spiritual power of this sacred place. They came from all corners of Mesoamerica, speaking different languages, wearing different attire, all converging on the Avenue of the Dead. Their destination? The Great Pyramids? The Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon weren't just architectural marvels. They were man-made mountains, conduits to the divine. For a pilgrim, climbing even part of the way up these structures or participating in the grand ceremonies at their base would have been a profound, life-altering experience. These visitors brought with them new ideas, different customs, and of course, wealth in the form of offerings, making Teotihuacan a true cosmopolitan and religious center. Life was lived on a grand scale, but also in the small moments. It was the smell of corn tortillas cooking on a clay comal, the sound of children's laughter echoing in a patio, the sight of a priest in a feathered headdress on the Avenue of the Dead, and the feeling of community within the walls of an apartment compound. The people of Teotihuacan built a world where the sacred and the mundane were inseparable. Their art, their homes, their work, it was all connected to their powerful cosmology. Even under the shadow of the Great Pyramids, life was rich, complex, and deeply human. They managed to feed, house, and organize a massive population without the use of metal tools, the wheel, or draft animals. They created a city of unparalleled beauty and order that stood for centuries. Exploring their daily lives reveals a society that was just as innovative and dynamic as any in the ancient world. The story of Teotihuacan is not just in its giant pyramids, but in the everyday world of the millions who called the City of the Sun their home. Thanks for joining us on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed walking the streets of Teotihuacan, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the ancient world. Let us know in the comments which ancient city you'd like to explore next. See you in the next chapter. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our journey through the annals of history. Today, we're venturing deep into the heart of ancient Mesoamerica to unravel one of its most enduring mysteries, the fall of Teotihuacan. For centuries, this colossal city was the undisputed powerhouse of the region, a sprawling metropolis of pyramids, plazas, and bustling avenues. It was a beacon of culture, trade, and religious significance. But then, around the year 550 CE, something went terribly wrong. The mighty city began to crumble, its influence waned, and its population scattered. What could bring such a dominant civilization to its knees? Was it a single catastrophic event or a slow, agonizing decline? Let's dig into the evidence and explore the theories behind the twilight of the City of the Gods. For a long time, the prevailing theory was that Teotihuacan was sacked and burned by outside invaders. It's an easy picture to imagine. Rival city-states or nomadic groups from the north, jealous of Teotihuacan's wealth and power, storming the city gates and setting it ablaze. However, as archaeologists have looked closer, this simple explanation doesn't quite hold up. The evidence of destruction is undeniable, especially the massive fires that ravaged the city's ceremonial core. But the pattern of this destruction is what's truly fascinating. It wasn't random. The fires seem to have been deliberately set, targeting the temples, palaces, and homes of the city's elite. Structures along the Avenue of the Dead, like the Pyramid of the Moon and the Pyramid of the Sun, show signs of intentional desecration. The statues of deities were toppled and smashed. This wasn't the work of an outside army looking for loot. This looks personal. It points towards an internal uprising, a violent revolution by the city's own people against their rulers. So, what could drive a population to turn so violently against its own leadership? One compelling factor is the idea of extreme social inequality. Teotihuacan was a highly stratified society. At the top was a small, powerful elite class of priests and nobles who lived in luxurious apartment compounds, adorned with vibrant murals and enjoying the best the city had to offer. At the bottom was the vast majority of the population, farmers, artisans, and laborers who supported the entire system. Imagine the growing resentment. For generations, the common people toiled to build magnificent pyramids and sustain a ruling class that seemed increasingly detached and demanding. If the rulers were seen as failing in their primary duty to ensure the prosperity of the city and appease the gods, that social contract would have been broken. The selective burning of elite residences and religious centers suggests a targeted rage, an attempt to wipe out the symbols of power and oppression that had dominated their lives for so long. It was a statement. The old order is over. But internal unrest rarely happens in a vacuum. There were likely other powerful stressors pushing the society to its breaking point, and one of the most significant was the climate. By studying sediment cores from nearby lakes and analyzing tree rings, paleoclimatologists have uncovered evidence of a severe, prolonged drought that struck Mesoamerica right around the mid-6th century. This wasn't just a dry spell. It was a multi-decade period of reduced rainfall. For a civilization so dependent on agriculture, particularly maize, this would have been catastrophic. Crop failures would lead to widespread famine and malnutrition. We can see hints of this in the skeletal remains from the city's later periods, which show increased signs of nutritional stress. Think about the domino effect. With food supplies dwindling, the authority of the ruling elite would have been severely undermined. The priests and rulers of Teotihuacan were believed to mediate with the gods to ensure rain and good harvests. When the rain stopped and the fields dried up, the people would have seen it as a sign that their leaders had lost divine favor. The elaborate rituals and sacrifices were no longer working. This loss of faith in the leadership would have fueled the social tensions we just talked about. The people weren't just hungry. They felt betrayed by both their rulers and their gods. This combination of starvation and a crisis of faith is a potent recipe for revolution. The drought didn't directly cause the city to fall, but it created the desperate conditions that made a violent uprising almost inevitable. Another contributing factor could have been the breakdown of Teotihuacan's extensive trade networks. This city wasn't an isolated island, it was the hub of a vast economic empire. Its merchants traveled hundreds of miles, trading its famous obsidian tools, ceramics, and other goods for exotic materials like jade, turquoise, and marine shells. This trade was the lifeblood of the city's economy and a key source of the elite's wealth and prestige. However, around the 6th century, we see the rise of other powerful regional centers. Cities in the Maya lowlands and in Oaxaca were growing in strength and beginning to compete with Teotihuacan for control of key trade routes. As these rival powers grew, they may have started to intercept or divert the flow of goods that once funneled exclusively to Teotihuacan. This economic disruption would have hit the city hard. The flow of luxury goods that symbolized the elite's status would have dried up, further weakening their authority. For the artisans and craftspeople who depended on these raw materials, it would mean a loss of livelihood. This economic decline, coupled with the famine from the drought, would have created a perfect storm of instability. The system was failing on all fronts: spiritually, agriculturally, and economically. The central government, once all-powerful, was losing its grip. It could no longer provide for its people, protect its trade routes, or even maintain the illusion of divine favor. The city was becoming hollow from the inside out. So let's piece this puzzle together. We have a population suffering from a devastating, decades-long drought. They are starving. Their leaders, who are supposed to guarantee prosperity, have failed them. At the same time, the economic foundations of the city are crumbling as rival powers chip away at its trade monopoly. Resentment, simmering for generations due to deep social inequality, finally boils over. The common people rise up, not just in a riot, but in a focused, symbolic act of destruction. They march down the Avenue of the Dead, not as pilgrims, but as revolutionaries. They set fire to the palaces and temples, the very symbols of the power that failed them. They smash the idols of the gods who abandoned them. It's a complete and violent rejection of the entire system. In the aftermath of this cataclysmic event, Teotihuacan was a shadow of its former self. The central authority collapsed entirely. The great city, once home to over 100,000 people, saw a mass exodus. People abandoned the urban center, scattering across the landscape to form smaller, more sustainable villages. Teotihuacan was never completely deserted, but it was no longer a capital. It was a ruin, a ghost city haunted by the memory of its former glory. The era of its dominance was definitively over. The fall wasn't a single event, but a complex process, a convergence of climate change, internal social conflict, and economic decline that led to a violent systemic collapse. But here's what's truly remarkable. Even in its ruin, Teotihuacan was not forgotten. The memory of its grandeur was so powerful that it became a legendary place, a mythical site for the civilizations that came after. When the Aztecs arrived in the Valley of Mexico nearly 1,000 years later, they found the colossal ruins, overgrown and silent. They were so awestruck by what they saw that they believed it could only have been built by giants or gods. In fact, it was the Aztecs who gave the city its name, Teotihuacan, which in their Nahuatl language means, the place where the gods were created. They incorporated the city into their own cosmology and origin stories. They believed the universe itself had been created there. The Aztecs saw the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon as the birthplaces of those celestial bodies. The Avenue of the Dead was, to them, the sacred path the gods walked. They made pilgrimages to the ruins, conducted their own rituals there, and even buried their own nobility within the ancient city's sacred precinct. They were essentially claiming a connection to this ancient, powerful legacy, using the memory of Teotihuacan to legitimize their own empire. The physical city had fallen, but its ideological power lived on. The specific grid layout of Teotihuacan, its unique architectural style, and its religious iconography continued to influence art and city planning across Mesoamerica for centuries. Even after its collapse, Teotihuacan remained the ultimate symbol of power, civilization, and the divine. So the story of Teotihuacan's fall is not just one of destruction, but also one of legacy. It has a sobering tale of how even the most powerful societies can be vulnerable to a combination of environmental pressures and internal weaknesses. It's a reminder that no empire is forever. But it's also a testament to the enduring power of ideas. The city itself may have crumbled, its people may have scattered, but the memory of Teotihuacan, its cosmic alignments, its divine authority, its sheer scale became a foundational myth for an entire cultural world. It transformed from a living city into a sacred legend, proving that sometimes the memory of a place can be just as powerful as the place itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of the fall of Teotihuacan. It's a complex story with many layers, and archaeologists are still uncovering new clues every day. What theory do you find most convincing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into history, mysteries. Until next time, stay curious. For centuries, a monumental city lay sleeping beneath layers of earth and time. Its creators long vanished, its name forgotten, but this was no ordinary ruin. This was a place of such epic scale that when a new civilization stumbled upon it, they believed it could only have been built by gods. Welcome back to our journey through history. Today, in Chapter 17, we explore the incredible story of rediscovery and excavation. We will travel back to the time when the Aztecs gazed upon the silent avenues of Teotihuacan for the first time, and then fast forward to the modern era of archaeology, where scientists piece together this magnificent puzzle. Long after Teotihuacan's original inhabitants had disappeared, the Aztecs arrived in the Valley of Mexico around the 14th century. Imagine their astonishment. They found a sprawling city of stone, dominated by immense pyramids aligned with the cosmos. The Avenue of the Dead, a vast central thoroughfare, stretched before them, flanked by weathered temples and palaces. The sheer size and precision of the structures were beyond anything they could comprehend. Who could have built such a marvel? Surely not mere mortals. In their awe, the Aztecs gave the city the name we use today, Teotihuacan, which in their Nahuatl language means the place where the gods were created or city of the gods. They integrated this mysterious place into their own cosmology. They believed this was the sacred site where the universe began, where the sun and moon were born. The Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon were named by them, reflecting their own creation myths. The Aztecs revered Teotihuacan, making pilgrimages to the site and even bearing their own elite along its sacred avenue, hoping to connect with the divine power that permeated the stones. They didn't know who built it, but they knew it was a place of immense spiritual significance. And so, the legend of the City of the Gods was born, a legend that would echo through the centuries, waiting for a new age of discovery. For hundreds of years, Teotihuacan remained a place of myth, its true history shrouded. While it was never truly lost, like cities hidden in dense jungles, its scientific exploration didn't begin until much later. The Spanish conquistadors saw it, but were more focused on the living Aztec capital, Tenochtitlan. It wasn't until the dawn of the 19th century that scholars and explorers began to look at Teotihuacan with a scientific eye. The era of modern archaeology at Teotihuacan kicked off in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. One of the first major figures was Leopoldo Baders, who was commissioned by the Mexican government to restore the Pyramid of the Sun for the centennial of Mexico's independence in 1910. Baders' methods, however, were controversial by today's standards. Driven by a desire for grand, nationalistic presentation, his team used dynamite to clear debris and added a whole new, speculative fifth tier to the pyramid, which archaeologists now know was not part of the original structure. It was a restoration born of enthusiasm, but lacking the careful, scientific rigor we expect today. This early period was characterized by a focus on the grand monuments. The goal was often to unearth and restore the most impressive structures for public display. It was an age of monumental discovery, but also of significant damage. Tunnels were dug haphazardly into the pyramids, sometimes destabilizing them. Artifacts were removed without proper documentation of their original context, losing invaluable information forever. Then came the mid-20th century, and with it, a new, more systematic approach. Archaeologists like Manuel Gamio, and later, the Teotihuacan mapping project, led by René Millen, revolutionized our understanding of the city. Instead of just focusing on the pyramids, Millen's team set out to map the entire city, every street, every apartment compound, every workshop. From 1962 to 1973, they walked the grid of the ancient metropolis, collecting millions of artifacts from the surface. The result was staggering. They revealed that Teotihuacan wasn't just a ceremonial center. It was a massive, meticulously planned urban environment, one of the largest in the world at its peak. Their map showed a complex grid of residential compounds, suggesting a multi-ethnic population living in distinct neighborhoods. They discovered evidence of craft specialization, from obsidian workshops to pottery kilns. This project transformed our view of Teotihuacan from a mysterious collection of temples into a living, breathing city with a complex social structure. But with excavation comes the immense challenge of restoration and conservation. Unearthing a structure exposes it to the elements: rain, wind, sun, and pollution. The vibrant murals that once adorned the walls of Teotihuacan's palaces are incredibly fragile. Once exposed to air and light after centuries underground, their colors can fade in a matter of hours. Archaeologists face a constant battle against time and decay. Take the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, for example. When it was excavated, archaeologists discovered its facade was covered in stunning three-dimensional sculptures of the serpent deity. But these stone carvings are now at risk from acid rain and environmental weathering. Teams of conservators work tirelessly, applying chemical consolidants, building protective shelters, and using advanced imaging techniques to document the art before it's lost. The challenge is immense. How do you protect these structures while also keeping them accessible to the millions of visitors who come to witness their grandeur each year? This brings us to the core of modern archaeological ethics. Today, the focus has shifted dramatically from the treasure hunting mentality of the past. The guiding principle is preservation. Archaeologists now often ask themselves, should we even excavate? Sometimes the best way to protect a site is to leave it buried, where it has been safely preserved for centuries. When excavation does occur, it is done with painstaking precision. Every spoonful of dirt is sifted. The exact location of every single artifact, down to the millimeter, is recorded using GPS and 3D scanning technology. This is because context is everything. A simple pottery shard is just a piece of clay, but knowing it was found in a kitchen, a temple, or a tomb tells a rich story about the people who used it. Furthermore, modern archaeology is a collaborative, multidisciplinary science. It's not just about digging. Botanists analyze ancient pollen to reconstruct the environment. Chemists test residues on pottery to figure out what people were eating. Bioarchaeologists study human remains to understand diet, disease, and origins. And importantly, there's a growing commitment to involving and respecting descendant communities, ensuring that the stories being told are inclusive and culturally sensitive. The excavation of Teotihuacan is far from over. It's estimated that less than 10% of the city has been scientifically excavated. What we see today is just the very tip of the iceberg. Hidden beneath the fields and houses surrounding the archaeological zone lies a vast network of undiscovered palaces, temples, and homes. Modern technologies like ground-penetrating radar and LIDAR are helping archaeologists peer beneath the surface without digging, mapping buried structures, and guiding future, minimally invasive investigations. The story of Teotihuacan's rediscovery is a journey from myth to science. It began with the Aztecs, who saw gods in the silent stones. It continued with the ambitious, if flawed, restorations of the early 20th century. And it has culminated in the careful, ethical, and technologically advanced archaeology of today. Each layer of dirt removed reveals a new layer of the story, slowly giving a voice back to the people who built this incredible city. But it also presents us with a profound responsibility to protect this shared heritage for all future generations. Thank you for joining us for this chapter. Next time, we'll delve deeper into the heart of the city and explore the art, architecture, and daily life of its mysterious inhabitants. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss it. See you then. Have you ever witnessed a moment where nature and human creation align so perfectly it takes your breath away? Today, we're journeying back to the ancient pyramids, but not for a history lesson. Instead, we're rejoining the thousands of modern-day pilgrims who gather for a truly spectacular celestial event, the sun alignment. Imagine this: the air is filled with a low hum of anticipation. People from all corners of the globe stand shoulder to shoulder, their faces turned towards the horizon. You've got families with kids perched on their parents' shoulders, professional photographers with tripods at the ready, and quiet observers simply soaking in the atmosphere. The sun, a brilliant, fiery orb, begins its slow descent in the late afternoon sky. As the minutes tick by, a hush falls over the crowd. All eyes are fixed on the massive, triangular silhouette of the pyramid. The sky transforms into a canvas of vibrant colors, deep oranges, soft pinks, and rich purples. The sun, now a glowing ember, gets closer and closer to the peak of the ancient structure. You can feel the collective energy, a shared sense of wonder that transcends language and culture. And then it happens. For a few fleeting, magical moments, the sun aligns perfectly. It looks as if the pyramid is cradling the sun, or perhaps swallowing it whole. A beam of golden light might shoot straight up from the apex, creating an illusion of a beacon connecting the earth to the heavens. The sun's rays diffract around the edges of the pyramid, creating a breathtaking halo effect. The sight is so precise, so intentional, it sends a shiver down your spine. You can hear gasps ripple through the crowd, the frantic clicking of cameras, and then a profound silence. In that moment of perfect alignment, it feels like time stands still. The glowing orange sun seems to pause, balanced precariously on the pyramid's tip before it finally slips behind the stone, plunging the landscape into twilight. As the last sliver of light disappears, the crowd often erupts into spontaneous applause. It's not just applause for the sun. It's a celebration of human ingenuity, of astronomy, and of being part of a shared, timeless experience. People linger long after the sun has set, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of their phones as they excitedly review their photos. But more than the pictures, it's the feeling that stays with you. It's a sense of connection to the ancient people who designed this incredible spectacle, to the thousands of others sharing the moment with you, and to the vast, beautiful universe itself. It's a calm, communal moment of awe, a powerful reminder that some things are truly universal. Standing there, you realize you've just witnessed a dialogue between the sky and the earth, a conversation that has been repeating for thousands of years. And you were there to see it. It's an experience that truly has to be seen to be believed. What we're witnessing is not an accident. The precision is mind-boggling. Ancient architects and astronomers worked with knowledge we are still trying to fully comprehend. They tracked the sun's path throughout the year, marking the solstices and equinoxes with architectural precision. These alignment days weren't just for show. They were deeply significant, often marking the start of a new agricultural season, a religious festival, or a change in the cosmic order. When you stand there watching the sun drop exactly behind the pyramid, you're not just a tourist. You're a participant in a ritual that has spanned millennia. The experience changes with the seasons. A winter solstice alignment might feel crisp and solemn, the low sun casting long, dramatic shadows. A summer alignment could be celebrated with more festivity under a warm, expansive sky. Each event has its own unique character, its own mood. But the core of the experience remains the same. A profound sense of wonder at the clockwork of the cosmos and our ancestors' deep understanding of it. For many, this journey is a pilgrimage. They come seeking connection, inspiration, or simply a moment of peace. In our fast-paced digital world, there's something incredibly grounding about watching a celestial event that is completely analog, completely real. There are no special effects, no screens, just the sun, the stone, and the sky. It forces you to be present, to put your phone down after capturing the shot, and just be asterisk. The moments after the alignment are just as special. As dusk settles, the crowd begins to disperse, but the energy remains. Strangers smile at each other, sharing a knowing glance. You might overhear conversations in a dozen different languages, all trying to describe the beauty of what they just saw. You feel a sense of unity, a shared humanity. We all live under the same sun, and for a brief period, we all watched it perform its ancient dance with a monument built by our ancestors. The sky, now a deep indigo, is dotted with the first stars. The pyramid, which was the star of the show just moments ago, recedes into a dark, powerful silhouette, its secrets held for another day. As you walk away, you carry with you not just a memory, but a feeling. A feeling of awe, of connection, and of having touched something ancient and eternal. It's a reminder that while our world has changed in countless ways, the sun still sets, the stars still emerge, and the wonder of the universe is always there, waiting for us to look up. This is the magic of the sun alignment today. It's a bridge between the past and the present, a spectacle that unites people in a shared moment of breathtaking beauty. It's proof that the greatest wonders are often the ones that have been with us all along. Thanks for joining me on this journey today. If you've ever witnessed a sun alignment, share your experience in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Until then, keep exploring. Have you ever stood under a vast, star-filled sky and felt a profound sense of connection? A feeling that stretches back through time, linking you to every human who has ever looked up in wonder? This is the heart of what we're exploring today, the meaning of the light. For thousands of years, our ancestors built incredible structures, not just as homes or fortresses, but as cosmic clocks and celestial calendars. Think of Stonehenge, Newgrange, or the Great Pyramids. These weren't just piles of rock. They were instruments of connection, designed to align with the sun, moon, and stars. They were built to capture the light. Why? What was this obsession with the heavens? It was about survival, certainly. The light told them when to plant and when to harvest. The winter solstice marked the darkest day, but more importantly, it promised the return of the sun, the rebirth of life. The summer solstice celebrated the peak of the sun's power, a time of abundance and growth. These weren't just astronomical events. They were the rhythm of life itself, the very pulse of the earth. The cycles of nature were written in the sky, and our ancestors learned to read them. But it goes deeper than just survival. This connection to the sky was also about understanding our place in the universe. Imagine standing inside Newgrange in Ireland, a tomb older than the pyramids. For a few minutes, on the days around the winter solstice, a single beam of sunlight penetrates a narrow passage and illuminates the central chamber. For those ancient people, this wasn't just a clever trick of architecture. It was a sacred moment, a sign that even in the deepest darkness, light and life would return. It was a message of hope, carved in stone and written in light. This act of observing, of aligning, was a way of making sense of the world. The predictable movements of the sun and moon brought order to a life that could often feel chaotic and unpredictable. The passing of time wasn't just a number on a calendar. It was a story told by the shifting shadows and the changing position of the stars. Each sunrise was a new chapter, each season a verse in the epic poem of existence. This enduring desire to understand the cosmos is a thread that runs through all of human history. The builders of these ancient sites were the first astronomers, the first physicists. They looked at the same sun and moon we do, and they asked the same fundamental questions. Who are we? Where do we come from? What is our purpose? And here's the beautiful part. That same feeling, that same awe, is still within us today. When we watch a sunrise paint the sky with color, or feel the warmth of the sun on our skin, we are tapping into that ancient connection. When we look up at the moon and feel a sense of peace, or gaze at the Milky Way and feel infinitesimally small yet part of something immense, we are sharing an experience with every ancestor who came before us. The technology has changed, of course. We now have powerful telescopes that can see to the edge of the observable universe. We have sent probes to distant planets and have unraveled some of the deepest mysteries of space and time. Our scientific understanding has grown exponentially. But the fundamental human emotion remains the same. It's the curiosity, the wonder, the yearning to connect with something larger than ourselves. The ancient intentions of our ancestors are not so different from our modern feelings. They built stone circles to track the seasons. We built space stations to orbit the Earth. They told stories about constellations to explain the universe. We write complex equations to describe the laws of physics. Both are expressions of the same deep-seated human need to reach out, to understand, and to find our place in the grand cosmic dance. The light they chased was more than just photons from a distant star. It was a symbol of knowledge, of hope, of renewal, and of connection. It was the answer and the question, all at once. It represented the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, a constant reminder that time moves forward and nature endures. Think about how we still mark time with light. We celebrate the new year with fireworks, lighting up the darkest night. We light candles on a birthday cake to mark another year of life. We gather around bonfires to share stories and community. These are echoes of those ancient rituals, a modern continuation of a tradition as old as humanity itself. The meaning of the light, then, isn't something that can be pinned down by a single definition. It's personal and universal. It's the farmer watching the dawn, the sailor navigating by the stars, the scientist analyzing spectral data from a distant galaxy, and the child making a wish on a shooting star. It is the thread that connects the ancient world to our own, reminding us that while our tools and our knowledge may have evolved, our hearts and our questions remain timeless. So the next time you find yourself looking up at the sky, take a moment. Feel the weight of history, the countless generations who have stood where you stand, looking at that same sky. Feel the connection. You are part of a story that began with the first human who looked up in wonder, a story written in the enduring, eternal light. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time and light. If this sparked a sense of wonder in you, please like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the deep connections of our world. Until next time, keep looking up. And so, we come to the end of our journey, but not to the end of the story. Here, in the quiet embrace of the Avenue of the Dead, we pause. The day's heat begins to soften, the crowds have thinned, and a sense of timeless peace descends upon Teotihuacan. We find ourselves standing in the shadow of giants, a place where history is not just read in books but felt in the very air we breathe. Look with me towards the west. The Pyramid of the Sun, that colossal monument to human ingenuity and faith, stands silhouetted against the sky slowly blushing with the colors of evening. This is a sight that has been witnessed for nearly 2,000 years. Imagine the countless generations that have stood right where we are, watching this very same celestial event. The architects who first conceived of this sacred city, the priests who conducted ceremonies on the pyramid summits, the artisans who carved the stone, the farmers who tilled the surrounding lands, and the pilgrims who traveled from afar to witness its majesty. They all watched this sun, their life-giving deity, make its daily descent behind this man-made mountain. The sun doesn't just set here. It performs a sacred ritual, a daily promise of return. As the light begins to change, notice how it transforms the stone. The rugged, weathered surfaces of the pyramid catch the golden rays, revealing textures and details that were invisible in the harsh light of midday. Each terrace, each step, seems to glow from within, imbued with an ancient energy. The pyramid is no longer just a structure of stone and earth. It becomes a canvas for the sky's artistry. Hues of orange, pink, and soft violet begin to paint the clouds, draping the entire valley in a breathtaking panorama of color. The air grows still, and the only sound is the gentle whisper of the wind, a sound that has carried the secrets of this place through the ages. Think about the sheer persistence of this moment. Empires have risen and fallen, languages have been born and have vanished. Entire civilizations have flourished and then faded into memory, yet this sun has continued its faithful journey across the sky, and this pyramid has remained a silent, steadfast observer. It has weathered storms, earthquakes, and the relentless march of time. It has seen the city bustling with life, a vibrant metropolis of perhaps 100,000 souls, and it has stood in solitary silence after the city was mysteriously abandoned, waiting for centuries to be rediscovered. This sunset is a bridge across millennia. It connects us in this fleeting moment to every single person who has ever found solace or awe in this view. We are sharing a gaze with the ancients. What were they thinking as they watched this? Were they filled with gratitude for the day's warmth and light? Were they contemplating the cycles of life, death, and rebirth so central to their worldview? Perhaps they were simply still like us, lost in the profound and simple beauty of the moment. We don't need to know the answers to feel the connection. The shared experience is enough. It transcends time, language, and culture. The Pyramid of the Moon, to our north, also catches the final rays of light, its own silhouette a mirror to the power and grace of this city. The Avenue of the Dead, stretching before us, becomes a path of liquid gold, leading the eye from one monumental structure to the next. The city was designed with a celestial precision, aligning with the stars and the sun's path. This sunset isn't an accident of geography. It is the grand finale of a daily cosmic performance, one for which the entire city was designed to be the stage. The architects of Teotihuacan were not just builders. They were astronomers, poets, and visionaries who understood how to weave the heavens into the very fabric of their earthly home. As the sun's fiery orb finally touches the horizon, its light intensifies for a brief, brilliant moment. It's a final, powerful flare of energy before it slips behind the pyramid's peak. For a few seconds, the pyramid wears a crown of fire, a divine halo. And then, just as quickly, it's gone. The direct light vanishes, but the show is far from over. Now begins the afterglow, the soft, diffused light that fills the entire sky with a gentle luminescence. The colors deepen, shifting from fiery oranges to rich purples and deep indigos. This is the time for quiet contemplation. The blue hour, a period of transition between day and night, between the known and the mysterious. In this tranquil twilight, the world seems to hold its breath. The pyramid no longer stands as a symbol of power and authority, but as one of peace and permanence. It becomes a guardian of the night, a mountain of silence under a canopy of emerging stars. It reminds us of our own place in the grand tapestry of time. Our lives, like the fleeting colors of the sunset, are vibrant and beautiful, but ultimately brief. Yet, like the pyramid, we can build things that last. We can leave behind legacies of love, knowledge, and beauty that endure long after we are gone. We are part of a continuous human story, each of us adding our own small, unique contribution. Let the peace of this ancient place seep into your soul. Let go of the worries of the day, the endless lists and obligations. Breathe in the cool evening air and breathe out any tension you might be holding. Allow yourself to be fully present in this moment of profound stillness. This sunset is a gift, a reminder of the beauty that unfolds around us every single day if only we take a moment to pause and watch. It teaches us about cycles, about endings that are also beginnings, and about the enduring power of places that hold our collective human memory. The first stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, the same constellations that the people of Teotihuacan would have seen. They look to these stars for guidance, for stories, for a map of the cosmos. As we look up at them now, we are linked once again to that ancient past. We are all, as the saying goes, made of stardust, and here, in the heart of this sacred city, that connection feels undeniably real. The pyramid now is just a great dark shape against a sky glittering with celestial diamonds. Its details are lost to the shadows, but its presence is more powerful than ever. As we prepare to leave this place to its nightly slumber, let us carry this feeling of peace and timelessness with us. Let this be more than just a memory of a beautiful view. Let it be an invitation to find the sacred in our own lives, to notice the daily miracles of sunrise and sunset, and to feel our connection to the long, unbroken chain of humanity. Teotihuacan teaches us that while civilizations may pass, the human spirit's quest for meaning, beauty, and connection to the cosmos is eternal. The sun will rise again tomorrow, just as it has for millennia, to warm these ancient stones and begin the cycle anew. And now, as the last vestiges of light fade from the sky, let us embrace the quiet of the coming night, ready for rest, for dreams, and for the promise of a new day. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Sleep well, and may your dreams be filled with the magic of ancient suns.